All right. Cool. Let's move on and have a look at how to go about doing this, which is a 7-step process. Is it hard? Not really. But should you follow all of these 7 steps from the first to the 7th? Yes. And I'd recommend that you guys write it down, because if you miss even one of these steps, you're compromising on the quality of your solution. So in a lot of cases, the guesstimate question that you will get will be shared verbally. And whenever a question is shared verbally and it's not written down for you on a piece of paper, there's a good chance that you might end up forgetting a section of the question. And when that happens, you're surely going to get it wrong. In fact, 30% of the answers that we discuss in my sessions that are incorrect happen because folks don't write the questions right. And we will actually see this, by the way. I say this every time I take up this session for this cohort, and there hasn't been a single cohort where somebody hasn't written down the problem wrong so far. And I've been taking this session for this cohort for the last 3 years. So, on a monthly basis. So I think that will give you a context of how many people do end up getting this wrong. That's the importance of step number 1. Secondly, identify ambiguities. If you are not identifying ambiguities, you end up making all the assumptions. Then again, you're compromising with the quality of your solution. Reverse engineer the problem. So this is basically where you actually start solving the question, which is that you have to ask yourself a very simple question. What are they asking from me? If they're asking for profit, what is profit equal to? Profit is equal to total revenue minus total costs. What is total revenue equal to? Total revenue is equal to, average price point of the unit into number of units sold. Right? What is the average price point equal to? So if the company sells 2 products, one price at 50 rupees, the other one price at 150 rupees, it's one, and let's assume that they're both sold in equal quantities. It's 150 plus 50 divided by 2, which is 100 rupees. And then you start going up, towards the answer. So you have to break it down. You have to reverse engineer the problem. You have to start from the final solution in terms of what exactly are they asking for, and then ask yourself a question: what is this dependent on? And then when you get to the next step, you have to ask yourself the same question again. What is this dependent on? And so on and so forth. Right? And when you're able to elaborate it to about 4 to 5 dependent variables or statements, then you start assuming numbers. Okay, I'm talking about a lemonade stall, which is nearby, probably would not sell more than 200 units a day, right? Assuming that you live in a very, very populous locality. Or maybe would not sell more than 100 units a day, right? So the assumption part comes towards the end of the solution, right? That you have to first break everything down into equation, and then you start inserting the numbers. Once you've done that, you solve, and lastly, you present. Right? When you're presenting the solution, always start with the answer, that the answer is this. The answer is dependent. I solved this by talking about XYZ assumptions. This is my logic, and that's it. So you're basically trying to follow the pyramid principle, which is that you start with the answer, then you share the more important assumptions and logic behind how you went about doing it, and then you talk about the details of the numbers. Right? Whenever I ask people to explain a guesstimate solution, they'll usually start with, I took XYZ as the population, then I did this, then I did that, and then I finally got to the answer. That is not how you go and present a guesstimate question or a solution. You should always start with, this is my answer. I initially start with population. I multiplied with the population by this particular term, whatever the terms are or whatever the variables are. And then you talk about the numbers that you particularly decided to input as per your assumptions, right? So that is pyramid principle whenever you're trying to present a solution. You start with the answer, you talk about the core assumptions or concepts, and then you talk about the numbers. Not the other way around.